Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sportsville. Broadcasting this week live from lovely Myrtle Beach. Let me tell you, there's very few places on earth better than Myrtle Beach. If you're a golfer, this is heaven. All right, before I get started, let me go around the horn and welcome all of the fellas. First, my favorite Fox News alumni, David Burnett. How you doing tonight, David?
I'm doing fine. You don't have to brag about being in Myrtle Beach.
Or bring up the Fox situation.
I'm doing fine. By the way, my team won. I just want to say that.
Well, we'll get to it.
That's heavy. That's high on the docket, so we'll get to that. Next, my favorite Hoosier and the longest iron hitter in the golf game, Chuck Snowden. Chuck, how you doing tonight?
Greg, I'm fine. You're looking good. Can't wait to get into the show tonight for sure.
Yes, sir. And as always, the inimitable voice of reason, Mr. Larry Abels. How are you tonight, Larry?
I'm great, Greg. How about yourself, man?
I couldn't be better. I'm telling you, if the only way I could be better is Real Sports would be on every night. That's the only way I would be better. All right. Well, let's get right to it. Let's start off with the NFL. It was another wild, wacky week in the NFL. I tell you, one thing I think we're seeing is that there's a lot of parity in the NFL this year. And from week to week, it's hard to know. It's hard to pick who's going to win. I got to believe Vegas might be taking a bath this year, but what do I know? I'm just a retired pharmaceutical sales rep. So let me ask you this first. Let me start with you, Larry. What are your thoughts on these NFL doubleheader Monday night games? What do you think about that?
My question is why? One game to me is enough. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why they need to, and I don't know why two need to be like in the East. If you're going to do one, like have one on the West Coast for people on the West Coast that might want to get home from work and see a whole game, but
exactly
one is enough to me.
That would make sense. David, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I've been thinking about this. Monday Night Football is no longer a premier broadcast. Yeah. Let's just start with that. The moment we went to a Sunday night game, Sunday night is the night. And so having two games on a Monday night is almost meaningless. It's just another football game times two. I'm not bothered by it. I don't even watch Monday Night Football like I used to. It used to, when Howard Cosell used to be there. Right. It was exciting, with Dandy Don Meredith. I'm showing my age.
Right,
but,
hey, we're all chiming in, so we're showing ours too.
I mean, Monday Night Football was the game. It's just not anymore. And Troy Aikman, he doesn't do anything for me. Yeah. So that's what I think about Monday Night Football. Doubleheader, no doubleheader, it doesn't matter to me.
Chuck, what do you think?
I agree with both Larry and David. And I'll even go a step further. It seems like football is just trying to squeeze all the other sports and stuff out of the picture. Because as much as I like baseball, because of the dominance of football, I haven't really been following the baseball as closely. So I just think, and we know they're trying to take away the NBA on Christmas Day. So I think that the National Football League is just trying to bully their way through all of sports. Well, there's my buddy Andrew. Hey, Andrew.
Nice.
What's up, Andrew?
Nice to join in, Andrew.
Right. I just think they're just trying to bully their way, and this country loves football. But I don't like the double games on Monday night.
Yeah, I struggle with it, and that's why I wanted to ask that question first. To David's point, if it's a I mean, to Larry's point, if it's an East Coast, West Coast game, that's one thing. But when you got two games basically overlapping both in the East, that's hard. And I just don't know I don't know the why. I don't know what the value in that is. So, yeah. All right. So let's get to some games. And let's start off with the hometown Commanders. I was at that game, and I can tell you I was heartbroken, crushed, devastated, because I knew they should win, but I could see that defeat. I could see it coming. It was like a slow moving train. You could see them burning the clock down, and we just couldn't stop them. And the turnovers were the name of the game. David, what were your thoughts about that game?
The Bears are better. I mean, no, they're not better than the Commanders. They were better last Monday night, Sunday night, but the Bears are playing better. They showed that. The Commanders couldn't hold on to the ball, and I know Larry's got a lot to say about that. But it's not a bad thing. You're going to lose a couple of games every year, and the Bears are improving. The Commanders have got to work on some fundamentals.
Chuck, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was there. I wanted us to win that game. The number one reason I wanted us to win that game, well, I wanted us to win all the games, is because we play the Cowboys this week. It's Cowboy week, right? And with Philadelphia losing this past weekend, and if we had won that game on Monday night, Philadelphia and Washington would be tied going into Dallas week. And I just thought that would be really cool for us. So I was disappointed that we lost. And it wasn't that we played bad. And Larry will talk more about this, but the turnovers just killed us, unfortunately.
So we were both at that game, Larry. Tell me what you saw.
Also, Washington, to me, never really seemed to be in sync. But they still had an opportunity to win the game. But they never really – it took them a while to get going. They fell behind. But like David and Chuck said, the turnovers, 3 turnovers, that'll do it every time. If they could have got away with only 2, they probably would have won the game. Chicago did enough to win. Washington couldn't stop them that one last time. But I'll blame it on the offense. They dropping the ball on the ground.
Let me ask you guys this. Do you think it had anything to do with the fact that Jaden Daniels missed a couple of games and was just kind of working himself back into NFL shape? Is that a factor?
I didn't think so. I thought he looked, and I tell you what I really liked, he ran when he needed to, and he got first downs when we really needed it bad. So I felt like he was pretty much in sync. Maybe some with his synchronization with the receivers, the timing, maybe that was a little off. But his decision-making, his running when he needed to, I thought was right on point.
Yeah.
I don't question some of the play calling in the first half, especially. And they couldn't run the ball, which was another problem. They've lost some of their running game. I like Bill when they get him on the edge. They didn't seem to get him on the edge like Swift was able to do for Chicago. But I thought they still should have won that game.
Yeah. I agree. And Larry, we're tracking 3 turnovers. You cannot turn the ball over in the NFL. That point blank in the story, full stop. You just can't turn the ball. And Joe Gibbs was fanatical about putting the ball on the ground. Fanatical.
Well,
the Commanders are going to be okay.
Right. There were 2 issues, though. First of all, this DeAndre Swift, let's give him some credit. He played his butt off in that game for the Bears. He had 110 yards rushing. He caught a nice little wheel route down the sideline, ran that in for a touchdown. So let's give those guys credit. Here's the other thing. The Bears had 2 weeks to get ready for us because they had a bye week last week. Sure. And I think that helped them, obviously, because they were up until then the worst team in the league to run the ball. In other words, you could run against them big time. But they fixed that over that 2-week period. We can run the ball, and we weren't as effective this week running the ball.
So you brought up DeAndre Swift, which is a perfect segue to my next question. They stopped giving him the ball, just like the Ravens stopped giving Henry the ball. What's the matter with the Ravens? Larry.
They have no defense, not to mention that their quarterback's hurt, but their defense is really horrible. Now, I'm watching this game. Derrick Henry had 90 yards in the first half. At the end of the first half, they have about 1st and 10 from the 20. He runs it to about the 8. Then they give him the ball again, and he runs it to the 1. And then all of a sudden, they tried 2 tush pushes with their tight end. I don't know what Harbaugh is thinking about because they had no clue about stopping it. I don't think they could have stopped him 3 times.
They could not have.
Push went nowhere.
David.
Defense is a problem. I mean, offensively, obviously, with Lamar Jackson out, it hurts their offense. Not giving the ball enough to the running back hurts their offense. But the fact is they can't stop anybody, and that's the problem. They're not playing Ravens defense like historically they've done for the last almost 30 years. They're not that same team anymore.
Chuck, what do you think?
There are 13 players on the injured list, 13, including people like Lamar you mentioned, and the guy in the middle of that defense, Roquan Smith, who's their best defender, he ain't there either. The 2 defensive tackles, one of those guys are out. I mean, it's just tough in the National Football League to have that amount of injuries and expect to be effective.
I hear what you're saying, Chuck, but at the same time, they weren't stopping anybody game 1.
But they were hurt then too, David.
Yeah.
But they gave up a lot of points in the 4th quarter in game 1.
Yeah, they did.
They should have won that game.
Yeah.
There's just something fundamentally wrong with the team at this point. Now, I don't think it's Harbaugh. Harbaugh is a very good coach, 18 years as a head coach of the Ravens. Sometimes you just go through some stuff. And Lamar Jackson, if I was Lamar, I'd stay hurt for the rest of the season.
Perfect segue to my next question. I'm going to stay with you, David. Should they be looking for another backup quarterback?
No.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Cooper Rush?
What it is. Cooper Rush played well when he was a backup in Dallas. He wasn't able to transfer that to the Ravens. He's just a backup. Sometimes a backup can't sustain the excellence that they had before. Cooper Rush played well when Dak Prescott was out. He comes to another team in a backup role. He's just not that good. He is what we thought he was.
They were who we thought they were. Chuck, what do you think?
Well, I think that sometimes systems, right? The system in Dallas maybe fit him as a backup guy because they like to throw the ball and so forth and so on, whereas the Ravens like to rely on their running game or whatever. Look, our friend David said this guy, Tyler Huntley, was going to be a good player, and he's also on their team as a backup quarterback, and he's trash too.
Well, first of all, you can't call somebody trash. That's just cold. Okay, just say he's not that good.
They're bad. They're really not. So I don't think going out to find a quarterback is easy to do. But they do have a quarterback problem.
You could have got Daniel Jones.
So, Larry, should the Ravens be looking for a backup quarterback? And I'll remind you that the Bengals just picked up Flacco. Just saying.
If Lamar Jackson's not playing, they're going to be in trouble. Right. So it really doesn't matter who the backup.
That's like the bottom line, right? Yeah.
If you they can get somebody that might play a little better, but they're not going to be at their best unless Jackson's playing.
The Commanders are very fortunate to have somebody like Mariota as our backup quarterback because he is more than just serviceable. That's a really good backup quarterback.
But you still don't want him playing with so many games.
I get that, but it's just like a good bullpen pitcher or whatever. But
Mariota's a former starting quarterback.
Right, and a Heisman Trophy
winner. He was pretty good in his snaps with Tennessee.
Look, I think the Ravens are in a terrible division, meaning they got a bye week coming up, I think. I think they got a game. They didn't have a game this week.
They're off this week.
They're what? They had a bye this week?
Yeah.
Okay. So if they can come back next week with Lamar and even at 1-5, when that division.
Okay. So stay with that thought, Chuck. Perfect thought. Who is the worst team in the AFC North?
I think the Browns and the Bengals are tied. They're both
okay. David.
Browns. But they're not the Browns are a light years better than the actual worst team in football, who are the Jets.
Well, they don't even. I mean, we're not. Please, the show will go downhill if we start talking about the Jets. The show will be in the tank. That's not even football. Larry, who's the worst team in the AFC North?
Baltimore. That's what the worst team is.
You know, and I said this a few weeks ago that it could
They're
be
giving
the
up
worst
30,
team in
35 points a game.
That's my pick. AFC North, the worst team. And I won't say Cleveland because Cleveland actually has a really good defense. They have a really good defense. The Bengals are just a better team than Baltimore right now. We're talking about right now. Right now, they are the worst team in the AFC North, I do believe. All right. So here's the thing. Will we win the NFC East? Will the Commanders win the NFC East? And can they overtake the Eagles? David?
No. The Eagles are going to win the division ultimately. They're going through some problems. Obviously, it's like a bad marriage. Sometimes you can't fix it. Sometimes things get better. They had this problem in 23.
Wait a minute, David. Get the couch out. Lay down.
If it's a bad marriage, the Eagles offensive coordinator is definitely sleeping in the guest room. He is definitely sleeping in the guest room.
I know about a bad marriage.
Oh, God. Bless you.
Chuck, what do you think? What do you think? Can the Commanders overtake the Eagles?
I'm not sure. I tell you what. If they beat the Cowboys this weekend in Dallas, that puts us at 4-3. I think we will be back on track. If we lose to the Cowboys, I don't know. I don't know if we can catch Philadelphia. And by the way, Philadelphia has some problems right now. They really do. They're not last year's team, and we got to stop that with the changes that they've had, the injuries that they had. The offensive line's not as good. The defensive line's not as good. The offensive coordinator is different. They are, but we got to beat Dallas this weekend.
All right, Larry, can the Commanders win the NFC East, and can they overtake the Eagles?
Well, I think they have to do both to do that.
Well, yeah.
The NFC East is wide open, but the Commanders have not shown me that they're consistent enough to do it yet. So at this point, I still have to go with the Eagles.
All right. Let me back up for a second. What was your favorite game of this past weekend? Favorite game, David? What was the game you enjoyed watching the most?
You know what game I'm talking about.
I know it's a trick question, but go ahead.
The Colts against the Cardinals, led by Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Hey, that's my favorite game of the week.
Chuck, what was your favorite game?
Let me see. What was my favorite game of the weekend? The Charlotte. I got to tell you, the Charlotte and Cowboys. I just can't stand the Cowboys. And so for Charlotte to be able to hold on and beat them, and that running back that the Cowboys let go to have that kind of game he had against those Cowboys, I loved it. And I thought it was the perfect setup. With the Eagles losing, the Cowboys losing, we're on Monday night. I thought we were going to win that game till the fumble. That would have put us right where I wanted us to be going into Dallas week. So for me, it was the Carolina and the Cowboys.
Larry, what was your favorite game this weekend?
The game, I like both of those two games that they both mentioned, but the game that excited me the most was Kansas City and Detroit. Right. That was like the marquee game to me, and it was a pretty good game.
I think for me, that game solidified the fact that Kansas City is back. They're back in full form. But I will tell you, the game I enjoyed watching the most was Tampa Bay and the 49ers. That was, to me,
a good game too.
As much as I love the Commanders, Baker Mayfield, I mean, I'm telling you, I've never seen a quarterback in recent memory get born again like this. I mean, he literally, that first down that he got on that crucial drive was a game changer. And it's just fun to watch a guy get born again and really find himself and not have his career end.
Well, we say born again, but this is the third year that he's led this Tampa Bay team to the playoffs. Remember, 2 years ago, they beat the Eagles when the Eagles had a really strong team. Last year, we beat them 23-20. But again, Baker has been the quarterback on that team since Brady left. And Baker's been solid.
I think he's been solid. That's exactly the word I was about to use. But now he's making game-deciding plays. He's making plays that decide games. And that, to me, that's like turning water into wine right there. That's a big deal. All right, Larry, top three teams in the NFC.
Oh, in the NFC. I was thinking the whole league. Okay. I guess I have to go with Detroit, Philadelphia, and Tampa.
Okay. David.
Detroit, Tampa and Seattle.
Chuck,
For now. Everything is for now.
Exactly.
so everything's if the season ended today. Yeah.
I'd still say it's Tampa, Philly, and the Packers. And I'm usually not pumping the
Packers.
Packers.
All right.
What
so
you drinking?
We're all pretty much aligned. I got Buccaneers, Eagles, and Lions. Those are my top three in NFC. All right, top three in AFC. Let's go with you, Chuck.
I got the Colts, the Chiefs. That's right. That was a big win. And Mahomes, by the way, I know we say they've dropped off or resurgence, but they were 15-2 last year too. And then I got Pittsburgh as my third team.
Yeah, Pittsburgh they're making a move. David.
Colts number 1, Pittsburgh number 2, New England number 3.
Wow.
You know what? When you look at the ranking, at the standings, New England's making a move, man. They're making a move.
They're looking serious.
AFC, top 3 teams in AFC.
Well, I got the Colts, I got Buffalo, and I guess I'll go with Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's and they are the epitome of parity. It's so much parity right now. It's hard to pick 3. I had the Bills, Colts, and the Chiefs just because of from what I see right now. If the season ended going into the playoffs, those are the teams with the momentum. Bills is waning a little bit, but yeah, it's waning a little. But I would say by next week they may be out of my top 3 by next week. So, all right, the season ends today. Who's the MVP? David.
I think we're going to be unanimous here. Baker Mayfield, if the season ended today.
Chuck?
Yep. Baker.
Larry?
Daniel Jones.
Okay.
So Indiana Jones.
So the voice of reason is kind of being not reasonable tonight, isn't he?
He's still mad.
I don't see why he's not playing well.
So
he's playing. Daniel Jones is playing.
He's playing very well.
Yeah.
He's the
I can go with him
up.
or Baker, but I mean, I think both of them are playing very well right now.
So I would pick Baker Mayfield, and to quote my son yet again, Baker Mayfield is the Tom Brady of the Johnny Manziels.
Oh, wow. Wow.
When he said,
to be honest with you, I think he's having the kind of season that Jaden had for the Commanders last year. Jaden was making plays with his legs and his arm and winning those one-score games, those last possession games. And Baker's doing the same thing on 4th and 13 and stuff like that. And he's doing it with both his legs, his heart, his arm. It's pretty impressive, quite frankly.
A note of caution.
Kind of like I'm liking him to Mahomes.
A note of caution, though, gentlemen. Baker Mayfield is, even though he is right now leading the pack for the MVP voting, he plays very recklessly. He's got a lot of grit, and I think that's what we like about him.
Yeah.
But he puts himself in dangerous positions because some of those runs he had the other day, he could have been out.
Yeah, they were dicey. Yeah.
So he's got to be very careful because without Baker Mayfield, Tampa is in trouble.
Oh, they come back to like mere mortal status overnight. Mm-hmm. They're instantly worse.
They're doing it with injuries. They have no the Mike. Where's that receiver? Williams or whatever their all-time receiver.
13.
Godwin is out. Yeah. They've got a lot of injuries too.
Their running back is out.
Running back is out too.
Yeah,
and they're still winning. I mean, and all the games have been close. All his games have been close.
Well, Chuck, when you mentioned earlier the injuries that was it Baltimore? The Baltimore
13.
has
13.
The NFL is a league of injuries, and it's who can adjust to the injuries, who can step up and make a play when they need to, when the key players are out. So everybody in the NFL deals with massive injuries. I mean, it's a brutal, and I've said this multiple times. One game on the sideline was enough for me. It is not a game for mere mortals. It is like the most barbaric and incredibly physical sport that you can see. To see it close up is like watching the Transformers fight. Right? It's like nothing I've ever seen before. So
Chuck raises a good point though, Greg, because a lot of the injuries are on the defensive side. I mean, it's one thing to spread out.
Yeah.
They have a whole bunch of starters out.
That's true. That's true. So my last question is: right now, who is the best team are the Buccaneers the best team in the NFC? Are they the best team in the NFC?
Yes.
David.
Right now. I would say yes.
What do you say, David?
As much as I like Baker Mayfield, as much as I like the Buccaneers, I don't think they are. Because keep in mind, every game has been a one-score game except this past Sunday.
Right. It was a double digit.
And it could easily be flipped, and we'd be talking about them in a bad way. and we would.
Right.
I think they're a lucky team. You know, just like Kansas City won a bunch of games last season, one-score games, and they probably shouldn't have won some of those games, and it showed in the Super Bowl. So Buccaneers are playing well. They're winning, but they're not winning with ease.
But
Larry, are they the best team in NFC?
There's no team in the NFC playing better than them. They're the best team.
Mm-hmm.
At least once every Wednesday night, Larry emerges as the voice of reason, and you can't debate it, right? When he says there's nobody else playing better than him, like he's right.
I don't know about that.
Well, who is it, David? You didn't give us a name.
I think the team that's actually playing the best football is a team I used to support. That's the Seattle Seahawks. I know they lost, but they're a good team. They're solid. I think they're playing the best overall football.
You know, part of it too, David, is we just don't see the Seahawks a lot. We don't see them a lot.
You got to get the red zone, man. You can see everybody.
Well, true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right.
They are playing well. They're playing well.
They're playing very well. They're beating some solid teams, so it's no denying.
San Francisco's playing well.
And their team with some significant injuries, and they're still playing well. It's who can overcome injuries in the NFL. Who can stay healthy or who can overcome the injuries. That's what the NFL.
They picked up a quarterback who was 14-3 for the Minnesota Vikings last year.
True.
And they got rid of Geno. And so, that guy's playing well still with Seattle.
I don't like how you said that about Geno. I don't like how you said it. Yeah, they got rid of Geno.
Right.
Geno resuscitated his career. He's making $40 million a year.
Yeah, good for him.
I said that just to mess with each other.
I know.
I think Minnesota might be kind of sorry that they let their quarterback go too.
Probably.
There might be a guy on our show who mentioned that a while ago, but that's neither here nor there.
All right. So before we leave the NFL, last thoughts on NFL, David.
Right now, it's still early in the NFL season, even though we're in week 7. A lot of things are going to turn topsy-turvy before the season is over. That's what I'll say.
All right. Chuck.
We've mentioned it multiple times tonight, and I still think, to me, it's been the number one story in the NFL this year, and it's the injuries. There's been a lot of injuries this year, and a couple of injuries here and there. It affects everything, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward with the whole injury front.
All right. Larry, final thoughts on the NFL.
I don't think there's any team that is really proven to be such a dominant team that I think is wide open in both conferences. I think it's refreshing to see some different teams playing very well, like Indianapolis, like Tampa. I'm enjoying that. But I think it's wide open in both conferences.
Like all of a sudden the Falcons have a resurgence. I mean, they're playing well, and God knows they've got still players.
They're really good.
Right.
So
the running back they have is
he's a beast. Oh, he's a beast.
How did Carolina shut them out? That's what I don't get.
Because Carolina is better. Is better this year.
I watched that game. I was here.
I was 30-0.
30-0.
Yeah,
that was weird.
That was a given Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll piggyback on your comments, Larry. Pete Rozelle is smiling down from heaven that this is what he wanted, parity. He was all about parity. He is smiling down from heaven because he sure has it now. There are no dominant teams. And my parting words for the NFL is Andy Reid is the greatest offensive mind of our time. This man can design plays. Whether they execute or not is different, but he can design plays. They come up with stuff in the red zone that nobody's ever seen. And I know it's him because offensive coordinators have come and gone there, and they have remained an incredibly creative offense like nobody else has ever seen. So I love me some Andy Reid, man. I love that dude. All right, college football. What was your favorite college game this weekend? And I'm gonna start off with you, Chuck, because I know this it's a trick question. This is softball.
Hello. Sometimes I write the answers on my hand, but this time I just wrote it on my chest, you know. The Indiana-Oregon game was amazing. Shout out to Indiana. Shout out to Signetti. It was so funny when they showed the stadium out in Oregon, all that yellow, and then they had that little small patch of red, which is where the Indiana fans were. And they just went out there, executed, pulled it off. And they were very, very, very impressive. And so I'm super proud of them right now.
Excellent. David, favorite college game this weekend?
This past weekend, Indiana and Oregon.
Yeah.
No question about it. I cheer for Indiana football. I don't cheer as much for Indiana basketball. Sorry, Chuck. But I remember going through my mom's college yearbooks and seeing Indiana football, George Taliaferro, one of the first African-American players in the Big Ten. And he was also played quarterback for a little bit too. He threw the football. So Indiana does have a tradition other than being the losingest team.
He works that in every week, doesn't he, Greg? He works that in every week.
Ding, 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 ding.
I did mention George Taliaferro.
You did. You got Papa T in there. Right.
Larry, what was your favorite game?
Say that.
I agree with both of them. That was my favorite game. And I was kind of happy for Indiana. You know, last year they were kind of like a team that kind of came out of nowhere, kind of like Boise State. But when they had their two biggest challenges, they didn't really do as well. So I was happy to see them get like a signature win. I mean, they went up against a quality team at their place and beat them. I mean, that's all you can say. So I felt good for them. And, you know, I think you got to take them seriously now.
Yeah, that was my favorite game, and for a couple of reasons. First, the previous week, I thought that Dante Moore was a leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy, and the Hoosiers brought him down to earth. They sent a lot of different defenses at him, and they kind of shut him down. But secondly, Indiana's running back Hemby. Oh my goodness, I'm a huge Hemby fan, and I'd seen sparks of high level skill. But I saw some things this past against Oregon that's like, yeah, this guy could be playing on Sunday next. You know,
he transferred from the University of Maryland. He was at Maryland for a couple of years. Yeah,
Maryland's got a lot of transfers. Maryland, and I watched them this weekend against Nebraska, and boy, I got to tell you, we're going to get to the coaches on the hot seat, but they're about to put their coach on the hot seat. It's not even fun. So. Chuck, let's talk about your favorite upset this past weekend. What was your favorite college football upset?
Sorry, James Franklin. I hate to see you go. Northwestern beating Penn State. My goodness. And then things started to unravel. I shouldn't be expressing like joy that he lost his job. I mean, $50 million to land on doesn't hurt. Yeah. It's just amazing how fast that happened.
It happened fast. We're going to get to that because that's something that, you know, is not normal. The way that happened is not normal. So we'll talk about that. David, what was your favorite college football upset this weekend?
I think Penn State getting beat by Northwestern had to be. I'll echo what Chuck said. Penn State losing to UCLA the week before, and then losing badly to UCLA, coupled with losing to Northwestern. And Northwestern runs a pretty decent program. They're not the basement of the Big Ten, but you're not supposed to lose to Northwestern at home and be booed out of the stadium. I feel badly for James Franklin in a way, but he had to be kicked to the curb.
Yep. Larry, favorite college football upset this weekend?
Favorite upset. That's kind of. I guess I might as well pile on Penn State too. I never thought Penn State was that good, though. I'll say that. I've been saying that. I thought they hung in with Oregon longer because I thought Oregon should have put them away. But I think that, just like Indiana has risen up and, the curtain has been pulled back. They're a good team. I think the curtain has been pulled back from Penn State. They're not that swift.
Yeah. So when a coach gets fired in mid-season, typically there's something going wrong. For me, it looks like the program is in a free fall and they only want it to go so far. So when you get throttled by 0-4 UCLA and then you lose to Northwestern, that's the definition, the very definition of a free fall. And so that's my reason for why I believe that some boosters got together and said, you know what, Mr. Franklin, your services are no longer needed. No matter what it takes, I'll bankroll it, but he's got to go. David, what are your thoughts on his firing?
I think he was fired that day because the fans booed him out of the stadium. I think had that not happened, he might have gotten another week or so. And, 2 embarrassing losses to 2 inferior teams. Penn State, I disagree with Larry. Penn State is not a bad squad. They've got guys. They put people in the NFL. But James Franklin wasn't being listened to anymore. His words were meaningless, and particularly in big games. And, don't get me started on who might replace him, because I hope we have that discussion, because I got some things to say about that.
Well, you know what? Go right ahead with that, because that's too good to pass up.
Oh, Lord. Number 1 candidate. Oh, please. Matt frickin' Rule, undersized linebacker for Penn State back in the day. I'm sorry. Let's take a look at his record. 64-57 in college football, 17-14 at Nebraska, 28-23 at Temple, 19-20 at Baylor, 11-27 at Carolina. And he's supposed to replace James Franklin. James Franklin, booed out of the stadium or not, had a winning record, an overwhelmingly winning record. You cannot replace him with some damn Matt Rule. Matt Rule ain't going to win a damn thing for anybody.
Yeah. Amen to that. I mean, that's impossible to argue.
I'm sorry. The moment I heard Matt Rule was one of the top candidates to replace him, and him kissing ass, talking about how great it was at Penn State. Shut up. Just shut up. You're a terrible coach. You haven't done a damn thing for Nebraska. Nothing. Anyway.
Don't fall for the head fake, though. Just like that, David, they know that too. The hiring people at Penn State.
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
All right, Larry.
You're right.
Tell me about Franklin's firing, and who do you think will replace him?
Well, I don't know who's going to replace him, but I'll still stand behind. They're not that good. David, it's fine that they put people in the pros. I'm talking about this year's team. They're not playing well this year. Every time I've seen them play, very average. I mean, they really did nothing against Oregon till the end of the game. I think Oregon left them in there, left them stay in the game. UCLA whipped them. Northwestern beat them. I just think their team this year is not that good. Now, the coach, I don't know whether it's the coach. I mean, he's got to take the responsibility because he's in charge. So I guess he's going to be the fall guy. And the other thing that I heard is that they went out, I guess they take Ohio State's offensive coordinator or something. They ended up spending lots of money on coaches and everything. And Penn State gave him everything that he asked for, and they're still losing.
I think the defensive coordinator is the highest paid assistant in college football.
Okay, I think that's what happened. And it's like, we go out here, give me this, because we're going to win this year. He promised them that. They don't win, he's got to go.
Well, and for a school like that that's won national championships, the bar is very high. It's not just a winning season or above 500 or making the playoffs or being in a bowl game. You got to win a title to satisfy these folks. When you get those kind of resources in a program like that, there is no you don't get there with just a winning record. That's not enough. And when you lose every big game, That's the
You don't get there
problem.
with a
Every
losing
big
record
game.
either.
You don't get there with a losing record. But when you lose every big game, what's the point here? What are we doing here? Right? All right.
So I kind of agree with David against you too, Larry, on this. I'm sorry about that. I think Penn State does have talent. They don't recruit ones and twos and threes. They recruit fours and fives in terms of star players. And quite frankly, they took that Oregon team, which was ranked number 2 in the country now, to overtime. Yeah. My problem with Penn State is what Greg was saying about the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. They're just not creative enough. They're so vanilla, so predictable, so average looking in terms of their play calling and how they do what they do. They don't take chances. So what they do is get away with bullying all the other teams in the league, except for Michigan and Ohio State. Of course, now the league is bigger with Oregon and so forth. And they can't bully those teams. They got to have some creative coaching in that. So I do think they have the talent. I think they are a top program. And,
my retort is that they lost to a winless UCLA team, and they lost to Northwestern.
I think that was a hangover.
They're not bullying anybody this year. They're bullying
Oregon.
Villanova and people like that.
Right.
Hey, Larry, the kids after that emotional win had to fly 3,000 miles to UCLA. And by the way, UCLA beat the crap out of Michigan State this weekend. So you want to discount? Hold on. You want to discount the 19-year-olds who have to go 3,000 miles after an emotional loss? It happens. That's just one of those things. So Chaminade beat the University of Virginia.
I'm not talking about individual players, but I'm just saying their team this year just hasn't shown me anything.
Well, and I think that's the reason that Franklin got fired. Okay. Franklin got fired because he wasn't connecting with the team. They got talent. Penn State has some of the best talent every single year, at least ever since they resuscitated the program after the Joe Pa disaster.
Which leads to another point that Greg made. Look, the only time they won the national championship was when they were independent. They were not in the Big Ten, and Joe Pa was their coach. That's the only 2 titles that they won. So, what has happened with Penn State over the last few years, they've been the 3rd best team in the Big Ten behind Michigan and Ohio State.
Here's one thing I think, something to consider. All these schools like Penn State that had NIL money when there was no such thing, now that everybody else has got that same kind of money and they can recruit those players, things are starting to level out a little bit. So maybe our expectations for some of these traditional blue chip programs is too high. Maybe that's why a guy like Nick Saban said, you know what? Exit stage right. Maybe this is time for me to leave because all of a sudden there are a lot of schools that didn't have the kind of money that I had, and don't even mention the transfer portal. Once that opened up, that changes everything. So it takes a different kind of coach now. You got to recruit. You got to keep the transfer portal open and close the other side. You got to close the barn door. You got to keep everybody happy, and you got to figure out how to win. And I think for some of these folks, it's just too overwhelming. It's just too much.
I think what's happening with that is that everybody's learning how to work with NIL and the transfer portal. And it's still a learning curve. It's only 5 years old. And it still doesn't have true rules. It's still wild, wild west.
Exactly.
So it's hard to predict what's going to happen. Just like, people yelling about the fact that the guy in Alabama isn't Nick Saban. That's an insult to Nick Saban. Nick Saban's the greatest college coach of all time. Ever. And whoever follows him is not going to be as good as him.
Same with Bobby Knight in Indiana. Same with John Wooden at UCLA. Dino at North Carolina. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Only thing I would say to you, too, and I agree with David, too, I think that Matt Rule thing is ridiculous. I don't think that's going to happen. But what I don't want to happen, there's one thing I don't want to happen about that coaching situation, and this is what I've heard immediately after they fired him. Go get Signetti. And I do not want those people fooling with my coach. I think Indiana has put the safeguards in place They are prepared to back up the truck. Cuban is going to give them more money. They're building the facility out. He's 65 years old. He's found his place. I don't think he should leave. And I just hope he doesn't.
Let's ask you, Chuck. You're close to the Indiana program.
Yeah. The only thing I will say, Chuck, is every man has a price, and when you can meet it, you can get him to do anything you want.
Indiana is already paying Cignetti, $8 million a year. He's the 5th highest paid coach in the Big Ten. What's the figure, Chuck? You're the money man. You're Chuck Money Snowden. What is the number that will keep Cignetti at Indiana?
I don't think that's the issue. I think unless somebody
it's going to be the issue.
I don't think we're going to lose him because of money. I don't. And I think that there's other things that are happening down there that Cignetti, who's bounced around, he's finally got his opportunities, been at smaller schools, all that stuff. Why leave? They got the NIL money. He knows what he's doing with the recruiting of players. Those Penn State guys who were committed to go to Franklin after Franklin got fired, they're now reaching out to Indiana to come to Indiana. There is no reason for him to leave. And I'm telling you, we're going to match the money.
I hope and pray Indiana does match the money. I hope and pray they do.
One other thing to that point, Chuck, I think that one thing that Cignetti is doing also is he's building a program that these young people are going to gravitate to. I mean, it looks like a great place to play. Everybody that played for him at James Madison loved him to death. So he seems to be that kind of coach that people love. All right, who's going to finish number 1 this year? Who will be the top college team when all is said and done? And who's the top Heisman Trophy winner? We'll start with you, Chuck. Number 1 team and top Heisman.
I think Ohio State will play Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, and they might be running it back for the Natty. So I put Ohio State and Indiana in the national championship game.
All right.
And the Heisman Trophy, Fernando Mendoza.
There you go. Larry, what do you think? Number 1 college team and Heisman winner.
I probably will go with Ohio State. Now, I saw Indiana's quarterback play for the first time. He looked pretty good. I still like the guy down in South Carolina, too. So I'm not sure. And I like Oregon's quarterback. He's not bad.
Dante Moore. Yeah, Dante Moore was mine. David, number 1 team at the end of the year and Heisman Trophy winner.
I agree with everything Chuck said. It's going to be Indiana and Ohio State in the Big Ten championship and in the national championship. And I think Mendoza, because, and again, it's hard to judge who's the best signal caller, but he's getting the national recognition. And that's how you win the Heisman Trophy, is if your name gets talked about. And Indiana is number 3 now. They might vault up to number 2. And when they play Ohio State and Indiana in the Big Ten championship game here in Indianapolis, by the way. Hello.
There's 2 other names. Carson Beck down in Miami. He's doing a good job.
Yes.
That's the Georgia quarterback that's at Miami. And Alabama has this kid named Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
And Alabama, since they lost to Florida State that first game, they've gotten better and better and better every week as well.
So for me, I think Ohio State will wrap the year up, and I do believe they will win the national championship. But if the season ended today, I would go with Mendoza. But a real close second is Jeremiah Smith. This young man is unbelievable. I mean, he is a man-child. And he's got 7 touchdowns, which he probably could have more if he had Mendoza throwing to him. He probably would have more. But he's a beast. He's a beast.
Yeah. Now, I saw something this weekend. I know the guy's not going to win the Heisman, but it looked like a lineman. I think he might play for Alabama. That gets the ball down by the goal line.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
the running back, big 350 pounds. They
like 6'7".
That should be
Alabama. That was Alabama.
He'll be a high draft choice.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, no doubt. So,
he should
closing
be
thoughts on college football before we move to the next topic. Closing thoughts, Chuck.
It's been interesting so far. Again, the Penn State firing of Franklin that quickly. And by the way, it wasn't just Franklin. I think it was Florida and UCLA coaches got fired too this year early before the season's out. So I think that's interesting. And I think you guys mentioned that the NIL and all that stuff, I think it's all part of this whole people aren't waiting around anymore.
I agree. David, closing thoughts on college football.
I'm just pulling for Indiana. I'm pulling for Indiana.
Thank you, David.
All right, Larry, closing thoughts on college football.
I'm just looking forward to more matchups. And I'll just say I like that Indiana and Oregon game. I thought that was a great game.
Good game.
All right. So my closing thoughts, I watched, and I mentioned that I watched at least half of Maryland's game. And I'll tell you, I love the coach, but they have to be one of the most undisciplined teams that can really play. They make some really crucial personal foul penalties at times when they really can't afford it. And it cost them the game against Nebraska. So I think if they don't watch it, they're going to get that man on the hot seat. All right. This was a fantastic year for the WNBA. I think it was a breakout season. I think it just changed in so many different ways, and we all have our beliefs of why that happened. But let's start with you, Larry. What are your opening thoughts on the WNBA and just the overall league? We'll get to the championship series and closing it out.
I think it's a very competitive league. The finals, even though it was a 4-0 sweep, 2 of those games were very close, but Las Vegas won both of those games, so that kind of made things bad for them. And I started thinking about Vegas's team. They have a lady named Jewel Lloyd who used to play for Seattle. Who was the leading scorer in the league a couple of years ago, and she doesn't even start for them.
Yeah, exactly. That's how good they are.
Sometimes she comes off the bench and throws in 20 when they need it. So I just thought it was a great season, very competitive. And I think they had the right amount of teams because most of those teams are pretty deep.
Yeah. Larry, overall thoughts on the WNBA season? I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry, David.
I think it was a great season for the WNBA, and particularly holding their own without Caitlin Clark. And you know how much I admire Caitlin Clark and what she means to the league. But they set records, 20-some-year-old records in terms of TV viewing for the playoffs, and that's a good thing. Asia Wilson, oh my goodness, one of the great players of all time in the WNBA. They did well. It was a good season, and the Aces proved that they're a resilient team with a great player.
All right, Chuck.
They won 3 out of the last 4, the Aces. So kudos to that coach and the organization. It's hard to believe the same owner of that team owns the Raiders, but that's neither here nor there. So I look at the Mercury, I look at the Fever, I look at Minnesota, I look at Atlanta, I look at New York, and this new team, Valkyries, all of them had without Caitlin, it was a good year and the good games, and the playoffs were really, really good. So I think this will be a springboard for it to get better and better. And I like the trajectory of that league. If they can get through this labor relations issue that they've got with the contract, they can get through that. They're on the right trajectory.
One thing to add real quickly to what you said about Valkyries, they sold out every game at 18,000 people per game.
Yep. And Paige Bucher,
brand new team.
And Paige was Rookie of the Year. Her team didn't make the playoffs, I don't think, but she's a star on the rising in the league too.
On a bad team.
On a bad team. So
they have so many good players in that league.
Exactly.
And I mean, look at Indiana's team with the injuries that they had. They were going to their bench. People were scoring 20 points,
And the New York team, they've got a couple of stars, and they didn't get to the final, so they're good too. So all I'm saying is they're in a good place. I just, it's something I said earlier today. The football thing is dominating sports to the extent where I hope all these things don't get squeezed when football starts. And that's,
that's kind of what happened with the WNBA. But Larry, to your earlier point, it was a sweep, but they were really good games. So what do you think? What was the key to the Aces sweeping the Mercury? What was the key to it? What was the key? What were the overarching keys?
Asia Wilson. One of the things that the 2 people that can garner the most are Boston for Indiana and Jonquel Jones for New York.
Right.
And the Mercury just didn't have anybody to guard it. Plus, one of the Mercury's best players got hurt.
Right.
And one of the big, I can't think of her name, Solaby or something like that.
Right.
Solaby, that's it. Yeah.
And that really did it. But I think they were just better. They were just better than the Mercury.
Larry, David, what are your thoughts on the sweep? I mean, they were good games, but how did the Aces sweep them? How did they sweep a 4-game?
Asia Wilson is the reason that they swept. She's just played at such a high level. I know we want to talk about who are the greatest players in the history of the WNBA. She's one of them. And when you have one of the great players of all time and you win, it's no surprise. They resurrected their season. They won 16, 17 games in a row, 15 games in a row when they looked like they were going to stumble through the season because they got beat by 50 points at one point or 40 points at one point in the season.
They were done. I thought they were done. I really did.
And then the very next game they started the streak. Yeah. So I think the WNBA is in a healthy position. Yeah. And the Aces are just one of the great teams in WNBA, right behind Houston, who doesn't exist anymore. Houston, by the way, won 4 straight championships.
Chuck, your thoughts on the sweep?
I think everything they said, the two of them. But I'll also add the girl, Jackie Young, I think her last name is, and the lady that Larry mentioned who came off the bench. They made jump shots. Late in games, those ladies were making jump shots. They almost lost that game 5. They won in overtime, but they almost lost that game 5. And then they got to the overtime, and again, they were making those jump shots, those threes. And I thought that pushed them over the top.
See, I thought the key for the Mercury, obviously, the Aces they handled their business. But when Copper went cold, that was a problem because she was dropping the 3 ball really well. But when she went cold, I think they lost a little something. Yeah. So 3 WNBA championships, 4-time regular season MVP, 2-time finals MVP, 3-time WNBA defensive player of the year. Is Asia Wilson one of the top 3 players in the history of the league? Larry?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
David?
She's one of the top 5 players in the WNBA history, and I don't know where she ranks. She's just one of the greatest of all time. My list: Lisa Leslie, Cynthia Cooper, who's my all-time favorite, Maya Moore, and Diana Taurasi, and she's right there with those 4 women. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to say she's better than them. She's right with them.
Chuck, what do you thought?
I'll defer to both Larry and David. I echo both what both of them said. She is one of the best. Is she 3? Is she 5? Is she 7? I don't know, but she is one of the best.
I would put her in the top 3 just because the way she dominates. The stats are true, but the way she dominates, I put her in the top 3. All right, with just a few minutes left, let's do a quick overview of the Major League Baseball. David, what are your thoughts on the Major League Baseball championships?
It's going to be Dodgers versus Mariners in the World Series.
All right. Chuck.
West Coast.
That's what it looks like. It does. What's interesting is the Dodgers have had these pitchers go 8 innings, like pitch the whole game. And that is something that doesn't happen all year long. So the Dodgers are loaded. They spend a lot of money. They're likable, even though they spend money. But I'm pulling for the Mariners because I like Dumper. I like the story. I like the little engine that could, even though they had a good season now.
Yeah, they did.
So I'm pulling for the Mariners. And they get to go home being up 2-0.
All right, Larry, overall thoughts on Major League Baseball playoffs?
Well, both teams get to go home leading 2-0.
Well,
yeah. Baseball is a funny sport because the old adage that momentum is tomorrow's pitcher. That's really true. But Chuck touched on something. Game 1, their pitcher went 8 innings. Last night, he pitched a complete game. And when you got pitching like that, and teams only getting 1 run a game, Dodgers are looking very good.
Something happened.
Say that again, Chuck.
Not to get into the weeds, but something happened in that one game with the Dodgers, the one that they won 2-1. The bases were loaded. The guy was at the plate. The pitch came, and it looked like it was going to hit him, but he ducked out the way. right?
It was at his back leg.
And so my point is, he should have took the hit. The run would come in, the score would have been tied, and we'll see what happens. But he ducked out the way. I thought that was.
You know, they asked him about that. He said he did his normal reaction. Somebody throw something 100 miles at you.
Right.
He said, leave your leg there. You know?
It was an instinctive. It was more of a human instinct than it was anything else.
Right. He said if he had time to think about it, he would have done that. But
all right, let's get ready for closing.
I think that I like Chuck. I was saving this for you.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodgers' luxury tax is more than Milwaukee's salary.
Holy mackerel!
Their luxury tax.
Whoa!
Milwaukee beat them 6 times all year. They swept the whole series against them, but they're down 2-0.
Right.
That's oh my God. All right, time for closing comments. Larry.
I don't have any this week.
David.
Go Colts.
Chuck.
Indiana University, baby. As David said earlier, one of the losingest programs in the history of the NCAA.
The losingest.
Okay, David, you made the
The
point earlier.
losingest.
And the week before. So they've had people like Lee Corso, John Pont, Bill Mallory, Tom Allen. We just habitually lose all the time. It's pretty amazing to see what's happened the last 2 years. And I have to tip my hat to Signetti and what he's done, implemented the culture, identified players and brought them on board. And these are not 5-star players. These are, and he's blended that thing together, offense, defense, special teams. It's pretty remarkable. If I were a pro team, I'd try to call him too. That's how good I think he is.
It would be worth it. That's all we have time for, folks. It's been a great night. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to the fellas. See you next week on Real Fellas Talk Sports.